This is a vegetable omelet muffin recipe. Great way to start every day and perfect for Christmas morning. What I like to do
Today
with
I'm
this
going to be
recipe is
making
chop the
a
vegetables
dish
up
that I
ahead of
love to
time
make
and use
kind
these
of ahead of
Tupperware
time,
containers.
and I'll make
And I'll
12
just
of
put them
them
back in the
in this
fridge, and then the
muffin
next morning I'll
pans.
wake up and
So
actually
I'll use a
make
muffin
the egg
pan,
muffins.
and I'll
I
put
use
some of these
this
silicone
muffin pan with these
holders in there. These
silicone
are great, they're
inserts,
non-stick,
which
and
make
they
sure
make
that they
removing
don't
the
stick to the
eggs much
pan, which
easier
is
than
very important. So
trying
what
to
I'm going to do
use
first is I like to chop up onions, green peppers, mushrooms. I use birch mushrooms in this. I also cut up cherry tomatoes. I use an herbal goat cheese. I add some garlic to the mixture, and then I use cilantro at the end after done cooking. I make also 3 that are just vegetables without adding the goat cheese or the hash browns. So I like to save time where I can. I use these shredded hash browns, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna use 2 cups total. You're gonna use 1 cup at a time with about 2 teaspoons of olive oil and then about a quarter teaspoon of salt and a couple shakes of pepper. And using 1 cup at a time, you're gonna make sure not to crowd the pan, and it will turn out perfectly fried and crispy. So you're gonna add some olive oil to a hot pan, and then you're gonna throw in the cup of hash browns. You want to make sure to stir the hash browns around so they're all coated in olive oil. So once everything's coated in olive oil, you're going to add a quarter teaspoon of salt and a few shakes of pepper, and then stir it one more time and then let it sit in the pan so the olive oil helps to cook the bottom, and then stir it and cook the top. So you want it to be golden brown by the time it's done. So at this point, the hash browns are cooked enough. You don't want to get them overdone because you're still going to be cooking them in the oven. So you can see they're golden brown. I've stirred them around. It took about 7 to 10 minutes to get it to this point. Start by adding a tablespoon of butter and then put that in the pan so it gets melted. You're going to add a half a cup of onions to the mixture. You're then going to add a half a cup of green peppers. You're now going to add a half a cup of your chopped up mushrooms. Then you're going to add a half a cup of cherry tomatoes to the mixture. And lastly, you're going to add a teaspoon of garlic into the mix, and then you're just going to stir it around and let the vegetables cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. This way they'll soften up and start releasing their juices. You also want to add about a quarter teaspoon of salt and a couple shakes of pepper at this point. So at this point, the onions are starting to get more translucent and the tomatoes have lost some of their moisture, so I'm going to add my ketchup and sriracha mix. So I use a teaspoon and a half of sriracha, this chili garlic sauce. And then to that, what I'm going to do is add a tablespoon of ketchup. The ketchup is a little sweeter and it helps balance out the heat of the sriracha. So to that, we're going to add a tablespoon of ketchup, and the ketchup helps to sweeten up the hot flavor of the sriracha. Now you're just going to mix them together to make sure that the ketchup and sriracha are mixed in with the cooked vegetables. At this point, everything is done cooking. You're just going to stir it one more time, and then we're going to build our omelet muffins. So now we're ready to assemble our egg muffins. So as you can see, I put the hash browns at the bottom. I like to create a layer where these go, and then taking a tablespoon, you're just going to fill up just like that. Get the whole tablespoon in. So now what I've added is the shredded goat cheese to the top of the vegetables. You're just going to use the goat cheese for the 9 that we have, and then we're going to do 3 more without any goat cheese or hash browns. For the final 3 omelet cupcakes, what I'm going to do is use about a quarter cup each of onion, green pepper, mushrooms, tomatoes, and about a quarter teaspoon of garlic. I'm not using cheese or potatoes, so I like to load as much vegetables in these as possible. Now it's time to make our egg mixture. So we're going to crack 8 eggs into a pretty deep bowl, and then you're just going to use the electric mixer starting at level 1 and then move up to levels 2 and then 3 at the end. I end up beating it for about 5 minutes to make them very light and airy, which is how I like to make these omelet muffins. So I've got my 8 eggs in a mixing bowl, and now I'm going to mix them up starting at level 1 speed and then going up to 2 and then 3. I'll do this for 5 minutes altogether to make sure that the eggs are nice and airy before I add them into the cupcake vegetable mixture. So at this point, the eggs have been beaten together for about 5 minutes, and you can see it's nice and airy. There's tons of air bubbles in there, which is what I like to do. And now to make the pouring of the egg easier, you don't want to pour it directly in from the glass. You're going to use a measuring cup, and what I'll do is I'll pour the egg mixture into the measuring cup over the sink so you don't spill everywhere. And then from there, I'm just going to pour the egg mixture into the egg bite holders. When you're pouring the egg mixture in, just be very careful because they're going to fill to the top quickly. And then once they're filled up, you're going to put them in a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. You just want to make sure that the egg is all set and the cheese is melted inside. So at this point, our egg omelet muffins are ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to let them cool down for 5 or 10 minutes before trying to remove them. But because of the nonstick silicone, they're really easy to take out. You just pull them out, pop them out, and leave them kind of on a plate. At that point, you can add some fresh cilantro, and then what I like to do is make a dipping sauce of some ketchup and sriracha. It will be a 1-to-1 ratio that I will then serve the egg bites with. Don't forget to add a like to my video and subscribe to the YouTube channel to see many more fun, exciting food videos coming up.